Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Deraney, and I'm your host. Kevin, good to see you, my friend.
Hey, good to see you. How you been?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I know we got a chance to talk before we hit record. I'm glad your vacation went well, and you're nice and refreshed and renewed and ready to go. So, I appreciate you coming on after your vacation here.
No problem, Drew. It was great to kind of, it's important for all of us to take a break from our real life and just go somewhere else for a couple of weeks and just forget about everything as much as we can and come back refreshed.
Absolutely. And hopefully you can take some of that vacation mode and weave it in as a habit into your real life. That's the challenge.
That's the challenge.
So, we in this show, we talk about how life is not linear. I mean, we are told when we're young, if we do A, B, C, and D, it'll get us to E. It's a straight line. It's linear. And that's not true. There's always something that's going to come up that's going to pose a challenge for us and shift our direction. And with that, most of us have defining moments. And those defining moments are either recognized and ignored or recognized and followed through, or something changes. And so at this point, we are going to get to that point where you're going to explain to us that defining moment you had which made you realize there is a better way to live. And so we're looking to see what that was and how you did it. So reach back as far as you want and think about that defining moment in your life that shaped who Kevin Juza is.
Well, I'm going to go back about 17 years ago.
That's fair.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, I have awesome twin daughters.
Okay.
I have awesome twin daughters. And so it ends as a positive thing. But 17 years ago, my wife and I got married 23 years ago, and that was a very linear life. Yes, there were bumps in the road,
right,
but I just kept moving forward and things just kept progressing like I expected, Became a regional director for H&R Block. I was responsible for 5 states, 5,000 people, a huge budget. It was fun. It was easy for me. It was people connection. I loved it. I loved what H&R Block did, all that kind of thing. I was in it and I was moving at the right pace.
Right.
And then my wife and I were ready to start a family. And this is a sensitive topic. So if there's anybody that has issues with infertility, I do take it very, I just want to say it's about that. So if you are connected to that in your life, I don't want to bring up something that you're not ready for. So I wanted to let you know, but my wife and I had infertility problems, and it was hard. You think it's supposed to be easy, to start a family because you've been looking forward to this your whole life, growing up and getting to that point where you want to have your own kids.
Of course.
And we had 2 losses. We had heard the baby's heartbeats and we lost them.
I'm sorry, Kev. Wow.
And in that, at that point in my life, the best sales job I ever did in my life was I sold my wife to move from California to Minnesota. Different.
Right.
She's born and raised California. Yep. We moved to Minnesota. So we're kind of all by ourselves going through this. So it was kind of a tough time for us.
Of course.
The last baby we lost, a week later, my boss at the time at H&R Block fired me or gave me a demotion opportunity.
Yes, I know those.
And I was like, wait, what? And there was no, concern or empathy for me going through what I was going through. Even
they were aware of the whole situation.
They were aware of it. She sent me flowers a week before.
And they still did that. Yep.
It's like I was down. Because you think about it, I poured my whole heart and my whole professional career into this company. I saw myself someday being the CEO, managing this, being that influencer and that leader. And then we go through this, we lost, and here I am, and I'm Minnesota, middle of winter, and I'm like, ugh. So then had Kim basically finished her teaching year, and then we moved back to California. We wanted to get back to,
the roots.
It didn't work out, so we just kind of went back.
Yeah.
And this was like, trying to find a place to live now in California. It's always kind of leaving California is always great. Coming back is financially tough.
Right.
It's so, here we are. My wife was able to get back to the where she taught, and we basically had one more chance for IVF under insurance.
Okay.
And she was reluctant. It
Yeah.
was a hell of a roller coaster.
Of course. Yeah.
And this was the pivotal moment for me. I was like, there's a reason we have one more chance.
Hmm.
So let's take it as a blessing and with as much optimism and
Hmm.
belief that we can do. And let's just be more relaxed this time. Let's just have fun.
Right.
Let's,
Enjoy it.
she did some yoga
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I was doing whatever, just kind of keep more lightheartedness in our. We
Right.
actually bought a house in San Francisco.
Okay.
We actually got back in, and I got a job too, so we're back off of surfing the sofas for my in-laws and
Right.
families,
Yeah.
friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna think positively.
Yeah.
And then on Valentine's Day that year, we found out we were pregnant.
Oh gosh. Okay.
And so that was awesome. But that's kind of when the mental frustration, fear, stress
Well, yeah.
for us, because we've been here before.
Right. Right.
And so then on Good Friday, which was actually my birthday,
Oh, way.
we had a sonogram, and they were saying your hormones are kind of high and da 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 da. And I was like, what does that
What
mean?
does that mean?
This is different than what you're talking. What are you saying?
Right.
We think there's twins.
Wow.
And so they saw the sonogram, and we found that we had twin daughters, and they were in the same sac. So we know they're identical.
Okay.
But that created some more complications because they were in the same sac.
Right.
So
Right.
they could swim around and hurt themselves,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so then my wife was, on the way of getting through this, and she was bedridden after like 3 months. So she was 6 months
Wow.
bedridden.
Jeez.
Um, and so it was crazy. But out of nowhere, because at this point, Kim didn't want to go back teaching.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
just let me, right? She wants to take some
Right.
time off.
Right.
Well, I just had this big mortgage now, over $8,000 a month mortgage in
Oh
San
my gosh.
Francisco.
Jeez, I can't
And I'm like,
imagine a
so I
month.
went back to the company I was working at. And after my year, there were supposed to be opportunities for progression, and they didn't give them to me. And so at the same time, fate had it, and I got recruited by a company to move down here to San Diego.
Oh, okay.
It's a great promotion. They covered all the sale of my house so I could get out from underneath the San Francisco
Good.
mortgage,
Yeah.
And so I was like, even though it's away from our family again and away from our community of Northern California, but I was in San Diego, beautiful place. And we moved down here, and we got, my wife was still bedridden, sold the house while she was bed. It was
Oh, so the
crazy.
girls weren't born. Okay, so this is
They're
before
not
the girls
born
were
yet.
born,
They're
and
not
you
born
got
yet.
these opportunities. Okay, this is
Yeah,
great.
so this
Okay.
opportunity came in the middle
Yeah.
of the pregnancy,
Jeez.
and the our doctor was like, Kevin, you can't move her. You need to go down there and go to where you'd have the baby and go look at the NICU and see what a 40-day baby looks like. See what a 50-day baby, do you want to
Right.
have a baby that 1 pound?
Right.
You can't move her at this time.
Right.
And so it got us really fearful and scared. And I'm not thinking like that. And we just kind of kept this optimism of what we're
Good for
doing, and
you.
we're just kind
Yeah.
of rolling with what was going on.
Yeah.
And then we moved down here, and the babies, I went up there Labor Day weekend,
Labor
funny.
Day. Perfect. I love
I
that.
snuck up, I drove up there, I flew up there, grabbed her and put her in her car, and then we just did straight down to San Diego, and like nothing happened, and just do it as fast as we can. So we had no problems.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we got into our little house, the little apartment thing we had for the relocation package, and we got her to San Diego, and then we started to find our house, and
Yeah.
and then 2 months later, Megan and Mackenzie joined us in the world. And
Oh,
so
God bless. It's interesting because the fear tactics that are used on us often in many, many different arenas of our life. I mean, it's not like the doctor consciously did a fear tactic. That doctor was probably just going by the book.
right,
Um,
statistically, you got to do that.
Statistically,
You got to
exactly.
know options.
Right, right. But you didn't allow fear to control you. And
Right.
I think that probably had a lot to do with why your wife was able to conceive, and then right, you're
Yeah,
less
we got so
stressed,
lucky that it came, and
enjoy life, have fun. The stress level I'm sure helped. the lower stress level. I'm happy,
Yeah.
so happy for you guys.
And it all worked. That's kind of where the name of my who I am or what I do is the tenacious
Yeah,
leader,
I love it.
is because you can't give up.
All right, absolutely.
I did some leadership stuff when I was managing teams, and I always pulled up this video of a guy running in the '92 Olympics,
Hmm.
and he was supposed to win, and he pulled his hamstring on the back straightaway,
Uh-oh. Yeah,
and then he got up and had to finish the race.
right.
And then around the fourth turn coming down, his father broke through and helped his son finish the race.
Oh, wow.
And so being a tenacious leader wasn't all about the runner
Right.
finishing the race. It was his dad,
Dad. Yeah.
being there and say, my son's going to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, that's a powerful story, and you're right about people think about the runner finishing with the father there to help him cross that line, and you knew that you were going to be that type of father for your girls, right?
Yep.
And they're 17 now. So tell me about that shift in mindset going from believing the fear to conquering the fear, how that helped you as you progressed A in your career and B as a dad and a husband.
Yeah, you just when I started learning that basically taking tenacity and putting it as the verb in my life instead of the adjective to describe the past,
Right.
I wanted to just own moving forward. And I'm not perfect by any means, but when things aren't working the way there should be or could be or want to, or being on that meandering path, getting better,
Right.
it tends to come back to me getting in my own way, having fear and doubt and worry. And
Right.
so we are so programmed to have such negative thoughts in our head
True.
that how do you really clean that up? And
Right.
that's my ongoing everyday kind of goal is how do I clean my head and just think about what can I do?
Right.
What's in my empowerment? And it's really me. It's the voice in my head.
Mhm.
It's my direction. It's how I want to live my life and be there for my kids. That's right now as the twin girls are 17 or about to be 17. I'm not the Superman no more.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
made me take my cape off, fold it
I
back up, put it away.
know that
Hopefully, I'll be able to bring it out someday for grandkids. But right now, it's just now I'm just a dad. I'm not a super dad no more,
Yep.
and I have to be there and listen more instead of it's a changing a role in my life
Yeah. Yeah.
that I never really knew to have.
Mhm.
Um, but to be a father that's wants to be present in their kid's
Mm,
life, and
absolutely.
you have to adapt, and because there's two different young ladies here, so there are two different approaches how they're
Mhm.
seeing life too.
That's
So
true.
1 minute I'll be over here coaching, counseling, the other one I'll be listening
Hmm.
and and not speaking
Yep.
because that's what they both want or need. They just want to know you're there.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. So does that put them in their junior year in high
Yep.
school? Okay, yeah. My
Yep.
my daughter's 17 as well, so I know what it's like to have a 17-year-old daughter. It's
Yeah.
one of the best things in the world, though.
you,
Best
you,
friends. That father-daughter like relationship, you can't describe it unless you're in it, right?
yeah. And I think the best leaders are ones that do have families, and I'm biased because I am a father, but
Right, right.
you learn the best leaders are ones that the servant leader
Hmm.
mentality truly comes from being a good parent, because you have to serve. You're there
Yeah.
taking care of people and you want the best for them, but you can't do it for them. You have to just love them and provide for them.
Right. And also you have to put your ego aside and realize that you can learn from your children just as much as they can learn from you. I can't tell you how many things I have learned from my three kids because I give them an opportunity to teach me,
Yeah.
and I think that's a benefit that some parents, many parents don't take advantage of, is learning from their children, and people who have difficulty learning from their kids also have difficulty learning in the business world from people younger than they or less
Right.
experienced, and in my professional life I've learned a ton from people less experienced than I or younger than I. Everybody has something to offer, and I think that's kind of like what you're explaining right here.
Yeah. When I was at H&R Block, so I was like 24 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
managing my first teams were,
Right.
70, 80 people, and their average age was 50 something.
Right, exactly. And so they have to,
And
yeah.
so I had to learn how to communicate and be also open to their experience, learning from them while I was trying to show them that we can actually grow a business,
Mm-hmm.
and we can do it all together, and creating some unity that they never had before.
Right.
And that was kind of great. But then there's that turn, that pivot where you're now the older person, and
Mm-hmm.
and now you're being managed by younger people than you, or you're being or your staff is truly, really younger than you because they're out of college. And how do you adapt and welcome the Gen Z mentality, the millennial approach of things
True.
that can
Yep.
really help us understand where we're going.
That's right.
uh,
Yep. You got to be able to adapt to that. And yeah, if you're in the industry for a while, you are at one point either going to report to or have reporting to you people in different generations, and you got to understand everybody learns differently or was brought up differently, and you have to have an open mind. Absolutely. Question for you, Senior. When you were a 24-year-old manager, I've suffered from imposter syndrome, where you don't feel like you're good enough. Why are they going to listen to me? Did you encounter that feeling sometimes as a 24-year-old manager with the average age being 50, that the imposter syndrome, or did you always have that positive confidence in yourself that you were able to overcome that potential?
Interesting thing, when I was 24, I had no idea what imposter syndrome was.
Well,
I was the man. I had the vision, the confidence, the communication skills, the
that's great.
charisma. I had vision of what I wanted to do, and I brought people in, and they can connect with me. And I think other people that's got intimidated by my confidence,
Right, right,
because I was so young and having some really good success.
right.
Um, but I wasn't aware of that
Yeah,
in the moment.
yeah.
But I think imposter syndrome now comes now.
That's what I was going to
It's
suggest, that
it's
it's
now
not.
it's now it's the part where I'm trying to pivot and create a new life. Or
Yeah,
COVID hit, I was in a corporate role and I was let go a week before it got to be a pandemic.
yeah,
And so I was free falling,
yeah,
and a colleague of mine said, "Why don't you come help me with my consulting firm?" And I
right,
helped him out, and
yeah,
he was like, "You can do this." I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
the whole fake it till you make it kind of a thing. And
yeah,
even though I could do it, he knew I could do it. I
right.
didn't know I could do it. And I was a full imposter
Yeah.
syndrome. And
Yeah, it's good you had somebody like that who can help you work on building up your confidence. But I agree with you though. The at when we're children, we have these limitless beliefs that we can do anything, and there comes a time where somebody says, "You're an adult now," and in our minds, we're like, "Oh boy, I'm an adult now. I can't let that child, the inner child in me, like blossom." Which I think that is another myth that we were sold, because that inner child's always with us, right?
right.
The one that does the belly laugh and plays the practical jokes and all that. And for some reason, we're taught in this country to, at a certain time, no, I'm an adult now. I cannot do these things. And I think that's what's hurting us, especially for men, because we don't laugh as much as we should. We don't cry as much as we should. We don't tell people our stories as much as we should. And men are dying younger. We need to start releasing some of this garbage inside of us and allow ourselves to live. And I think you exude a lot of that. You can still be that inner child and still be an adult and a good leader, and that has something to do with that tenacity, because kids are tenacious.
They are, and they're fearless.
They're fearless.
They're fearless and tenaciousch together.
Yeah,
Woo! You can get a lot accomplished with that.
you certainly can.
Because we're just a friend of mine, a coach friend of mine, that we were talking last night, and where he's like, "Do you know how many things happened in the Jetsons that are actually real now?"
I used to love watching that show. You do.
Zoom is
It's
real,
true.
but that was a
The
Jetsons
robot.
thing,
Yep, yep, yep. That's so
virtual
true.
virtual doctor appointments.
Mhm.
These are like, you go now. The question came: was it the thought of that movie that made it come true?
Yeah, yeah,
Because was that the spark that took the engineers that says, we could do that. We could
do
do
that.
that
Yeah, yeah.
before, so I think it is. It's everything we see is gonna come one day because we
Mhm.
can think about it.
Yep.
When you have that thought,
Yeah.
are you tenacious enough, fearless enough to make it happen,
Mhm.
or to give it a try?
It's true. Everything does start with a thought that next step is that tenacity or that willingness to actually take action.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's very, very true. It's interesting too with the whole imposter syndrome. It makes sense that kids don't have that because when you think about our brain, you have that prefrontal cortex, right? The part that's judgment and decision making, the thinking part doesn't mature for men until they're about in their 30s anyway. So, and I think that around 30 is where
That's about right.
yeah, and right around 30 is where we start to say, what am I going to do with my life? And then around 50, you're like, what's my legacy? So a lot of the stuff is science based. So so now what do you tell us what you're doing now? And then I got a couple questions for you.
Sure. Well, 2018, I actually was in transition,
Mhm.
and I actually ran for public office.
You did. All right.
I
Okay.
did. I've always wanted to do it. I
Uh-huh.
remember sitting in my parents' house when I was right before I left to college. He goes, "What do you want to be?" I said, "I want to be a senator someday."
There
Why
you
a
go.
senator? Because that's the longest tenure job you can get,
There we go. Senator Kevin.
so so I ran for school board because somebody said you should try to do this to help the community out because I was very active with my kids in school and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I ran into a meta person who kind of was a coach and a life coach, and it it hit me as like that's what I do.
Yeah.
My success from H&R Block to everything I've done all the way is I always coached people. When I was out flipping burgers at Wendy's when I was 14, 15 years
Yeah.
old,
Right.
I became a shift leader within weeks,
There you
you
go.
know,
There
and
you
it's like,
go.
it's kind of, you come to be a coach and a supporter. That's kind of what you
Mhm.
are.
Yep.
And so I started studying 4 years ago, 5 years ago, how to be a coach
Hmm.
and got certified in doing that. And then that consulting process came along.
Right.
So currently what I do is I help founders who are the number one salesperson who need to scale and they got to stop selling. And so
Mm.
I help them put in place their sales teams
Okay.
because I love working with the young youth to try to get them ready because they're the
Right.
future CEOs. They got to learn how to you have to learn how to sell an idea or a
Sure.
thought or a product
Sure.
so you can
Absolutely.
influence and lead in the future. So I
Absolutely.
enjoy that chance to kind of help them build their future company by working with that group. And then in addition, I just love coaching like people own franchises.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There's a lot of businesses that are going to be shutting down soon if they don't find somebody to buy them.
Right. That's true.
It's so you're having a way to build up leadership within their company so they can actually transition it to somebody else in their family or neighborhood so they can keep that business going. Um, so I just love helping. I help businesses keep going, growing and going.
I love that. I love that because I owned a franchise for 3.5 years, and I really wasn't. I could have utilized somebody like you. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. I like
That's how
where I
you
am.
learn, right?
I like
That's
where
how
I
you
am.
learn.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Couple questions.
sure.
First question is: you're sitting down with young 7 to 10-year-old Kevin.
He's cute.
He is cute, and he's saying, older self, Kevin. I'd like some advice on life. What are you going to tell young Kevin?
Don't be afraid to start your own business. And the sooner you do it, the better off you'll probably be in the long run. Because my mom and dad, they worked for H&R Block. They
Mhm.
were 40 plus years, 45 years with H&R Block. My dad has the big grandfather clock in his living room,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
being there for so long.
Yeah.
My mom was a tax professional with HR. So it's in my blood,
Yeah. Right.
So I was in that mindset. I got to get a job. I got to get a job. And then when I lost
Mm.
that job, I got to get another job, like, security,
Yep.
safety.
Exactly.
And I wasn't built in a family that was all about, you can you can have your own, you can create your own security and safety with your own business.
Right. Right.
And if I would have figured that out sooner, without fear,
Right.
you build off that tenacity that I talk about now, I
Mhm.
think it'd be a very interesting place I'd be living right now.
I love that advice. All right. Put on a different hat. Now you're sitting with young Kevin, the young entrepreneur or businessman, and now he's asking for some advice on business. What are you going to tell that young Kevin?
Mm. You can't go it alone.
Mm.
You have to, even though you were successful in your professional career and you kind of were on your own, leading in front of everybody and driving things forward, when you own your own business, you have to bring people in.
Yep.
you can't do it yourself. You have to have an accountant. You have to have, you know, a coach or a business or a mentor or somebody to help you still stay accountable.
Yes.
It's amazing. I always thought my dad would be my business mentor, but now he's like, I don't want to fucking talk that stuff. Excuse my language.
No, that's okay. That's cool.
It's like, I don't want to, I want to talk about my tractor. I'm going to go on a tractor ride next week.
Love it.
I'm
Yep.
going to go to the Legion and sell 50/50s, but I don't want to talk about business.
That is
it's
great.
so like, So I learned that in the sense, you got to find your mentor. You got to find people that, if there's a coach out there, Rich Lichman, who says, if you're the smartest man in your room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, I
love that quote. And I see that now as like, okay, I need to be in the room that has the right people around me to influence me, to keep me going.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that.
That's kind of where we met too, Drew.
Actually, who introduced
Keegan, I believe.
Who was it?
Was it Keegan?
Let me see. I think it was Keegan Schaefer. I always like to, I've been doing that now, looking up to see who introduced. I think it was Kevin. It was Coach Keeg, right?
Yeah.
Let me see. Sorry, audience. I just gotta, Keegan Schaefer. Yep. Thanks, Coach Keeg. So, all right, now the audience has gotten to understand the essence of Kevin Juza, and they're going to want to reach out to you. Make it easy for them. Tell them how they can contact you.
Just go to thetenaciousleader.com. That's the best way to count. There's always that reach out to me thing. There's a calendar in there too. If you want to just meet, have a coffee with me, that's the best place to go. My contact information, everything's there. It's Kevin at The Tenacious Leader. I'd love to talk to people. I love connecting with people and seeing how I can help them, service of them in any way I can. And if they have any questions about sales, life, parenting, I love it. Bring it on.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Kevin, thank you very much. I'm grateful you're in my life and that we're friends, and we'll be talking a lot more. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing some wonderful things, and keep smiling and keep being tenacious.
Thank you, Drew. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. Be well. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.